Wow, I'm back. Today I come to you emotionally scarred. Again, from finishing the Harry Potter movies. Again, and crying myself to sleep knowing I'll never live or study at Hogwarts. Again. I feel this way every time after finishing a Harry Potter movie. In fact, I feel this way every time I finish a story with an enjoyable, believable fictional world. The reason I undergo this emotional turmoil when one would assume I should be happy to experience such a good tale is because it is only after the story is over, when the credits finish rolling and I leave that fantastical world I suspended my disbelief for, that I snap back and am met with plain, sadly familiar reality. I'm sure you know exactly what I'm talking about here. If not, either the title wasn't descriptive enough for you or you just aren't a functioning human with emotions and stuff. For the sake of clarification though, let me explain exactly what I'm talking about. The feeling is one of those distinctive mixes of more recognizable emotions. In this case, I identify loneliness, melancholy, longing, and peace of mind as most but not all of the ingredients in this bizarre cocktail of a sentiment. It's the kind of thing that, when experienced, can't be pinned down by the binary definition the words good and bad offer. No, it rides the oh so very thin line in between. And this, in my opinion, is what creates that bittersweet, perplexing daze I'm trying to describe to you. I like Urban Dictionary's definition that goes, quote, post-series depression, the sadness felt after reading or watching a really long series or story, the bitter feeling when you know the journey is over, but you do not want it to end, end quote. This captures the surface level emotions felt, and there's another beautiful paragraph I'll get to shortly that explores the syndrome more thoroughly. But first, petty nitpicking. While the feeling of post-series depression, PSD for short, is ever present across all forms of storytelling, I like to think the different mediums built nuance to the feeling, giving, for example, a PSD after reading a novel that, while the same in a broad sense to that felt after watching a show, is slightly different in more subtle ways. Think of it as if you're making brownies, and while all brownies are delicious and taste more or less the same, a fudgy, gooey brownie is not twin to the cakey, more airy one. Less flour means less cakiness, and more chocolate means more of that heavenly fudge. I digress. Likewise, in my opinion, a written story, while it stirs similar emotion, summons the latter in a varying composition as to that of a movie or video game. Maybe more loneliness at leaving your imaginary friends because books are unparalleled when it comes to hooking the reader to the characters, but less longing when compared to films which can excel at fleshing out a world, showing in one frame a scene that would have taken hundreds of words to describe. In that sense, literature, cinema, TV, animation, comics, YouTube Let's Plays all have their own form of post-insert form of art depression. And so each one ought to have its own spot on the dictionary. I'm not the one who'll be doing that, of course, too busy. PSD will do just fine then. One more thing though. I see the reason this experience is called post-series depression, and includes books and movies in its definition, but not video games. After all, video games are the most interactive form of art. Therefore, an argument can be made that their very nature provides enough variability to quell any feeling of disengagement with the world. No matter how many times you play Minecraft, a new world is always waiting for you with plenty of fresh adventures never before explored. Still, that same variability makes every world unique. Every world with its own beginning, struggle, and story you yourself create. And so leaving said world creates a whole post-series, rather post-game depression. I'll never forget my first Minecraft world, nor my first Skyrim build. In fact, leaving those worlds had me feeling some of the deepest PSD I ever felt. And those are the open world games, the ones with a loose or close to inexistent story. Plot-driven games are a whole nother beast. Granted, their focus on narrative makes developers walk on shells, so to speak, trying to tie gameplay with story and characters. This in turn can easily lead to complete immersion break. But when the walk is successfully completed, well, we get lightning in a bottle. Enter Mass Effect. Anyone who ever played this masterpiece can tell you the sense of engulfment they felt the minute they arrived on the Citadel for the first time. How shocked they were when they learned their choices actually mattered, and how torn it made them to let a squad mate die to save another. How the suicide mission in ME2 had different outcomes that reflect all the choices you made throughout your adventure. You made those choices, not the protagonist of a book or the main character in a movie, and so for me at least, the impact is by orders of magnitude larger. All of these moments and many more are what contributes to the pain and longing we feel after leaving Garrus and the band to head back to reality. We can still visit them again, creating a brand new story with different decisions, such as a video game's nature, but the feeling is still ever present every time the playthrough ends. In that way, video games aren't so different from their counterparts. To go back to Urban Dictionary and that beautiful paragraph I told you about, quote, "It is the longing for the words on the pages to move for you the way they did the first time you read them, when you didn't know what the next paragraph held, and the world in which the characters found themselves was entirely without limit. Because anytime you reread the story, you know they aren't free to roam anywhere like they were before. They are stuck on a cart, on a track, and all you can hope for is to notice something about the scene you didn't before, and to just try and relive those feelings you had the first time. But it will never be the same again." This brings to light a new perspective on the feeling, a universal yet personal reason. It's quite telling on the human condition. We love stories because they throw us into new lives, new worlds to experience the same way we did as a child watching snowfall for the first time. Utter wonder and curiosity, an innocent eagerness to uncover all there is to uncover, and surely that is why, once the tale is known by heart, the illusion fades, the high drops, and it's time for the hangover. Post-series depression. We have no way of recalling the past, therefore we grasp at fictional tales to provide the answer to our endless what-ifs, fear of missing out differing with each person but constant in its presence. The missing out will happen regardless, I fear. The ink dries and there's no rewriting over it. As a result, the familiar anguish sets, and it's an infinite cycle. The snake eating its own tail. Ouroboros. I don't mean to end on a sad note here. I know I get PSD after every good series, yet I still binge Harry Potter and play through Mass Effect 69 times a year. Although the pages of reality can be rewritten, those of the fictitious realm, while also subject to time, are unending and parallel. Therefore, there's a strong case to be made for the ride. More often than not, it matters more than the destination. And so we keep dreaming. This has been Internet Victim, signing off.